6:30 in the morning for me here. We've got a beautiful day, big blue sky, lovely yellow and orange leaves all happening here. It's a beautiful, magnificent day here. And I'm very excited to present this model to you today. Just to give you a little bit of a background, first of all, I can't see your faces. I can't even see my face, and I don't have access to the chat. So Sean and I have worked out a deal. If there's something that comes in, he can say, oh, there's a chat here with a question. I'd love to be able to get through my presentation because it has a really nice model, a very practical, kind of inspiring model to keep you motivated in your career. Now, here's my background. I was actually born in Quebec, and I went to what we called Saint Foy Elementary School, Saint Foy, and my siblings went to Quebec High School, and I moved to Ottawa, and then I moved out to Calgary after university. And so I've lived mainly in Calgary most of my adult life. But I was a teacher for my career, and because I used this Stop, Stabilize, Surpass method, what ended up happening was I really was so self-reflective of my own teaching practice. I used to teach English, social studies, special ed, and ESL, and I was an inclusion specialist. So I used to teach regular classes, but then have sometimes like a high-risk behavioral student would be planted in my classroom so that I could work around with this student and bring them to their next level. So I became an inclusion specialist in my school jurisdiction. I worked in schools that my preference was to work in schools that were high-risk schools that needed extra funding because they had significant challenges. So when I come to you today, I'm coming to you as a teacher like you who worked in very challenging schools and who loved it. Teaching was my passion, who did exactly this, Stop, Stabilize, Surpass, and it turned me into stepping away from teaching. I went to Oxford and I got my PhD on my favorite topic in the world, and then I came back and now I present all over the country and into the US, talking about, yesterday I was doing the loneliness epidemic, and today I'm doing my Circumventing Burnout. So I'm coming to you with stories of teaching, how to keep yourself in this career for a long time, because it is a really, really wonderful career. Challenging, but so meaningful and wonderful. So that's the place that I'm coming from here. And you know, I taught teaching while my mom had breast cancer, and I'm still having to stay teaching. My dad having open heart surgery. I went through a divorce when my children were young. So lots of things piled on. I had 3 children, trying to manage a house. So I had a full plate. Okay, and I was basically managing it on my own because I was, you know, I had to make sure that my kids grew up and were healthy and whole and all of that. And what's happened, they're in their 30s now. What's happened is they're using this model in their lives now. And they say, Mom, you've got to get out there and teach this to everybody. And that's what my students said too. So that's the place that I'm coming from, everybody. But let's get started. I say, let's be proactive in our own stress management. Research shows that passionate, creative, high-achieving teachers are susceptible to burnout. So congratulations if you're here, because it means you're very passionate and creative and you care so deeply. And these are characteristics that can also help you burn out. If you didn't care, you probably wouldn't be burning out, but you do care, and that's what it is. So congratulations, everybody who's here. When I give presentations in Alberta all over, usually they're in person at conventions. I have 200 to 300, I max out rooms, 200 to 300 people in my sessions when they're live and in person. And I would collect up what teachers were burning out about, and I just put a few on here. Being all things to all people, new policies, new technologies, work-home balance, time, not enough time, marking and extracurricular. And now, of course, you've got the pandemic and coming back into the classroom. And yesterday I was dealing with that, with the loneliness epidemic and what's happening to the children in your classroom because of pandemic. So I am saying this is part part of being human is that we're going to have times of stress. So what are the signs? Fatigue, irritability, loneliness, making mistakes, memory slippage. I call it spinny brain. I don't think that's a technical term, but I do remember when I was going through my divorce and the pressure was on, I remember my brain feeling like, I can't compute. I'm not computing. And this is where I started my stop, stabilize, surpass method. You'll get health issues, maybe a sore back or, some other kind of catching colds easily and not wanting to get out of bed in the morning. So here's my model. I'm applying change theory to stress and burnout. And let's have a look at this. Life can be a series of highs and lows. Okay. But if you apply change theory says, say you get up here at this little, and you start feeling yourself sinking down. If you can stop your stress, if you can manage your stress early in the downward turn, you can level it out and stabilize, and you will rise up higher than you thought you were when you thought you were at a high over here. So now you're here, something happens. Like for me, I was going through a divorce. I had 3 little kids. My mom had breast cancer. And to top it off, the province of Alberta audited my special ed program. So I had lots on my plate. I could sink down here. But sometimes just knowing I'm in a stressful period right now. I'm just going to manage it. I'm going to level it out. I'm going to stabilize. Came up over here. And then you'll find yourself over here. You're going to get higher and higher. Now, for an example, I was in this very small women's clothing store. It was petite. It was probably the size of my office here. And I was trying on this dress. And I could hear the clerk outside. She was maybe in her early 20s. And I heard her, and they were unpacking boxes of new clothes and hanging them up, the 2 girls. And one girl said, "Oh, wow, you're so calm all the time. I get so stressed. I am so stressed unpacking these boxes. How do you stay so calm?" And I thought, I'm in my little dressing room, and I thought, wow, you're taking clothes out of a box, putting them on a hanger, and putting them up on a rack. How are you going to handle stress when something really stressful happens? So that girl clearly needed to come to my session today. She needs to be able to manage her stress and gain the confidence and then move along so she can handle more and more stress in her life. Buying a house is stressful. Having children. So it's how do you manage these stressful incidents in your life? And the better you get at navigating that terrain where you keep the downward spot downward, try and, as soon as you hear, stop, stabilize that out. Get new skills, grow your skills. I did that and I was able to step out of teaching, and now I'm doing all kinds of things, more passionate things that I want to do. So this is the model that I'm using. So let's have a look. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is stop. Recognize your stress behaviors. What are they? Let's have a look. Now here are mine. Except for this one, I don't get angry. I don't have an angry thing in me. And in fact, my children, as I said, are in their 30s, and they said, "Mom, I don't ever remember you ever yelling at us." But the rest are my stress behaviors. So my classroom and my house and my car would get really cluttery, just cluttery. And one time I had to give this presentation, and it was in a classroom at a school. It was a teachers' convention in a small community, and I was in the classroom. The classroom looked like this. And I thought, well, where do I put my laptop down to hook it up to the LCD projector? And I couldn't even find a spot. So this is a sign, okay? This is a sign of stress. This is a stress behavior. Watching too much television, on social media, scrolling. Look at how much time you're spending doing that and not living your own life. You know what? You come home and you say, I don't want to go for a run. I don't want to walk the dog. That's too much energy. I'm tired. I'm just going to have a glass of wine. I'm just going to have a beer. That's a stress behavior. Guilty. You just want to lie on the couch over here. You don't want to get up. Guilty. So figure out what yours are. But let me tell you a story about this one. That looks so juicy and delicious to me. It's right front and center. One day, that 5 minutes when you're a teacher and you're all caught up, like all your marks are in, all your marking's done, your marks are in, you've had parent-teacher interview. We get, and probably you do too, the following day after evening parent-teacher interview was an org day. So I finished up my org day. I get into my car. I'm driving home. I get to the red light, and across the street, I'm going to name it. It was A&W. I love teen burgers. So I'm at the red light, and I think, you know what? I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to reward myself. I'm going to get a teen burger, large fry, large onion ring, and a large A&W root beer. I deserve it. But I was sitting at the red light, 2 minutes. Well, it was probably less, but sitting there, and I thought, Margot, that little voice inside my head said, Margot, why do you think that's rewarding yourself? Your body has been through incredible stress getting all that work done and sitting with all the parents and delivering the report cards to students and everything. Your body is so stressed out. Why are you going to stress it out even more by making it process that much fat, sugar, salt all at once? You're not doing your body any favors. Why don't you treat your body really, really well? Go and get some nice salmon, brown rice, kale, go for a run, have a nice bath, clean your house this weekend, relax, treat yourself really well. I mean, when you're not stressed and you're having a fun holiday, going and having a burger is fantastic. Or a big ice cream cone, whatever your thing is. But when you're stressed, just stop. And actually, I did some research on this. I came across this article that said if you can wait 2 minutes, so you have that impulse to do something like, oh, I think I'm just going to open a bottle of wine. Wait 2 minutes. And something will click in your body that will say, put it back and why don't you go for a run? If you're a smoker, if you say, oh, I really need a cigarette and you're trying to quit, just wait 2 minutes and something will click in your body that will say, you know what? I don't need it anymore. That urge has passed. So I'm saying these are my stress behaviors, except this one. Mine is more this one. I'll kind of run away and not face up to the problem. That's also a problem. But so what I'm saying is know what your particular stress behaviors are. And then what you want to do is, you want to combat those. And I just put this in it because I thought it was funny. But one of my stress behaviors is I wanted to run away. Oh, did I put that together? Anyway, run away to a cabin in the woods, my runaway cabin in the woods. So I had on the front of my desk, I had all these little cabin pictures all taped to the front of my desk. I thought it looked pretty, but in my imagination, when I was stressed, I'd say, oh, I just want to run away from everything. Like, I just want a cabin in the woods, no Wi-Fi, no path to the front door. I don't want anybody calling me. I don't want my cell phone. I have to be out of cell phone reception. And that was my fantasy land of where I wanted to go. So I taped all these pictures on the front of my desk. I had this picture up at a live session, and I heard out of the back, because I used to get 200 to 300 people there. I heard this, is that cabin for rent? I just thought that was so funny. So I thought, oh, I'm going to put that on here. So it's just that idea, what is yours? And I remember I came up with my Stop, Stabilize, Surpass. And when I figured that out, I just could take all those pictures off the front of my desk because I no longer needed to run away. I no longer needed to have that burger and onion rings when I was stressed. And so I'm really hoping that you'll capture the essence of this presentation so you can manage your own stress better. So you want to stabilize. How do you stabilize? Like in Canada, it's wintertime and your car is slipping on the ice and it's going all over the place. you just want, okay, everybody, everything, back off, back off. I need to stabilize right now. And hey, you know, there's no reason why you can't just say, I'm in a period of stress right now. I have a lot on my plate. I have a lot on my plate right now. I need to stabilize. And it's okay to tell people that. It's okay to tell your children, your partner. It's okay to tell your students. You say, yes, this is report card time. It's stressful for me too. So let's be good to each other, everybody. It's stressful for me too. And you'll gain so much compassion from your students when you talk like that. So held down. So intentionally combat stress behaviors. Instead of the burger, go to the grocery store and pick really high vibration, high nutrition food. So I would say, does this have nutritional value? Yes, no, no, then I'm not going to eat it. I'm not putting it in my body. Wash your car, spend the weekend. You got homework to do this weekend, everybody. Go and wash your car out, vacuum it, really make it really nice on the inside. Scrub your house down, clean your classroom, wash every desk, put some nice music on, have a cup of tea, and have fun with it. Go for a run, go for a walk, go for a hike. Most beautiful time of the year for me is this time of year. And you know, if you're finding yourself wearing baggy clothes, all black, all navy blue, they're baggy, you just want to put your hoodie on, hey, just go and find something really pretty, if not sexy, and go and get a haircut, pull yourself together, and combat these stress behaviors. So I have, my closet would look all black when I was stressful. I could, okay, black skirt, black shoes, black sweater. Now it's, if it's black, put it back. And my daughter said, oh, mine is, if it's gray, stay away. So go out this weekend and say, I'm going to get my sexy back. And I'm going to make myself really attractive again, because you're gorgeous, gorgeous. So, and at the same time, resist comparing yourself to others. Okay? Resist comparing yourself to others. So I'd be teaching and I would think, oh, it must be so nice to have one of those office jobs, you know, where you're going, like my view, I live in a condo now, and my view is of downtown Calgary skyline. So when I look over there, I would think, must be nice to go to an office and be able to wear really nice clothes and make more money, because they, you know, more money than a teacher. Be able to take a holiday when flights are cheap, because as soon as we're on holiday, all the airfare goes up, right? So be able to do that. So I was thinking about that, you know, comparing myself to others. Why am I here? Harumph. And they can buy big houses. And at the time I lived in a little bungalow. So, and they can go on their holidays and everything. And I thought they carried nice leather briefcases. And I thought it must be so nice. Well, my friend who had a job like that, and he said, well, Margot, here's the thing. It's not necessarily greener on the other side of the fence, okay? He said, think about it. You think this traveling for business is fun? He said, I'd have to go to Germany, Japan, and everything. Sure, that sounds really super sexy. But hey, I miss my kids. I had to organize up all my kids, my family. I was gone. It was hard on my marriage because I was traveling. He said, think about you know your time schedule. You can plan around your time schedule. Whereas for me, and I have a man in my building who goes up to Fort McMurray, and he was told one day, like, oh, tomorrow you have to be in Fort McMurray in the camp, oil and gas camps for 10 days. And he was told the day before, you know, so he said, like, there's so much instability. So think about teaching. There is a lot of stability that can help us stabilize. They're at the whim and mercy of whatever their boss wants them to do. And so having a big house, he said, well, think about it. You have a pension plan. We have to create our own pension plan. And we need like $1 million or $2 million in that. We have to have saved up in a pension plan to get what you're getting, Margot, you know, as a retired teacher. So it's not so rosy on the other side of the fence. And he said, and plus, we have to think, we never know whether there's going to be a security guard coming to our office and say, here's a cardboard box, take your personal items and we're escorting you out. They live on pins and needles. So he said, stop comparing yourself to others in our industry. You take care of yourself and you grow your teaching career into into your passion project. It's not greener on the other side of the fence. And then I had knock, knock, knock at my door in my condo. And in came this man. He used to be kind of famous. He was a politician and he lives in my condo building now. And so anyway, he said, I hear you're good with people who are depressed. And I said, as a matter of fact, I am. What is it? What's your problem? And so we're looking out my window at the city of Calgary. And he said, I used to have $24 million and I lost it. He said, I took my eye off. I lost it. Now I have to live in this condo building and I can't afford that big house anymore. And here's what I said to him. Well, we live, and this is a true story, we live between Hope Street and Cliff Street, and we have to find the balance in between. You can look me up, City of Calgary, Hope and Cliff. My daughter said, Mom, stop telling people, they'll know where you live. I live between Hope Street and Cliff Street. And this has kind of become my metaphor for stop, stabilize, surpass. You want to find the balance in your life so that you can live it and really make your whole life your passion project. Okay, so it's not necessarily, here he had $24 million. If I'd been comparing to him and now he lives the same lifestyle I do. So don't compare, don't go down that pathway of comparing yourself and thinking, oh, if only I didn't have this job. And when you're stressed, clear the decks. Okay, clear the decks and stop volunteering for things that don't give you a lot of passion, that are not moving you forward, okay? I put hazardous substances because my daughter said, Mom, it's interesting how we take care of the earth about making sure we don't put any toxic substances in there, but we'll let toxic people into our life all the time. When you're in a period of stress, because everybody's going to go through it, right? Stress is a normal, natural part of growing. And I'm presenting to students now, high school students, but just saying to them, let's not pathologize stress. Let's not make it as if it's some abnormal thing. There are always going to be periods of stress in our life. That's never going away. It's how do you manage stress better and better? They're always. So how do you manage it better and better and stay the calm in the world? Well, what I did when I was in the biggest stressful moment of my life, when I was going through my divorce, is I cleared the decks. And I was, for my son's play school, I was like the volunteer secretary for the play school. And I went in and I said, okay, everybody, I'm going through a divorce. It's messy. I need to just clear the decks of anything that is not about making sure that my divorce settlement is appropriate, my kids are healthy, and I stay the course in my job. So I can't do anything extra. I'm not doing anything extra right now. So I'm going to have to leave as your secretary. And I just cleared the decks. And about 10 years later, a woman came to me who was in that meeting. She said, I always remember that. When I went through my divorce, I thought, I'm going to clear the decks of anything outside of what I absolutely have to handle right now. So when you're in that period of stress, take care of yourself. Remove the toxic people. You don't need any complainers in your world, people who are using up your time and making you feel badly. That man in the middle with his hand down, I tried to find a picture of don't volunteer, and that's the best I could do. Put your hand down. Volunteering for everything, and remove toxic people. Just go breezily by, oh, good morning, and keep going. And I gave this presentation, it was 3 hours. It was like a workshop-y kind of presentation. And this principal said to me, every morning, I have the same 3 people with their coffee cups come in, sit down at my office, and start just criticizing everything around the school. Same 3 people. So if you're that person, If you're the person who goes and finds a cheerful person and you want to lay out all your troubles every day, watch that. That's a stress behavior. That person probably said, "Ooh, fresh day. I'm going to have a lovely day today." And then along comes somebody to pour out all their troubles. It's okay once in a while, but if that's one of your stress behavior habits, then it's time to reform your habit, okay? Now, and compartmentalize your stressors. Think about, okay, I use my divorce story, but when I was going through that period, I thought, I'm just going to focus on this. But you know what happened? I was at school and I had my children's pictures on my desk. And every day at 3:30, my heart started to pound. I thought, I think I'm having a heart attack. I'd get dizzy. I went to my doctor and I said, my heart is pounding. There's something wrong with my heart. And she said, well, she hooked me up to one of those machines. And she said, there's nothing wrong with you. I realized at the end of the day, when I looked at my children's pictures on my desk, I went into a panic attack. I was having a panic attack because I was so guilty about, this whole marriage and divorce thing. And I was so guilty about being a working mom that I was into panic attacks. And I thought, no. So I removed their pictures from my desk and I brought them home. I said, I'm going to compartmentalize. This is my place of work and my children are well taken care of. I'm going to just focus on school. And what ended up happening was I realized school became my vacation from my problems in my home life. And I thought, I'm just going to pour all my energy into my students while I'm here. I'm going to love them. I'm going to pour my energy in, and I'm going to compartmentalize my children. And my mom, as I said, was ill, and she ended up passing away, sadly. And I had to compartmentalize that. I couldn't be thinking of her while I was teaching. My students deserved the best of me. I compartmentalized, so I would phone my mom when I got home. Luckily, I had a mom who was always cheerful, so she took her illness with a kind of a sense of humor. Compartmentalize your money issues. So don't let all your stressors be wearing them around all the time, all day. Compartmentalize. I'll give you a little funny story. I came zipping home from work because I had to get the kids to their play school teacher's retirement party. And they were probably grade 6, grade 7 by then. And I said, we're going to the retirement party. And I made these little cupcakes and I came home and I was doing my little swirls on the top with icing and had them on the platter. And then the very last thing I do before I go anywhere, my kids know I put lipstick on. So I was in the mirror and my son is saying, Mom, hurry up. And I said, I'm hurrying as fast as I can. I'm already stressed, putting on my lipstick like this. And okay, the truth is, he said, Mom, don't worry about your lipstick. Connor's mom's going to be there. Nobody's going to be looking at you. I hope you're laughing right now. I'm looking down at him going, thanks a lot. And my daughter, she's standing there to my left and she's about 8. And she said, Mom, do you want to know what I do when I'm stressed and I think I'm in a hurry and I have to go somewhere and I think I'm going to be late? And I looked down at her. What do you do? She said, I pretend I'm not. So you can either put your lipstick on stressed or you can just put your lipstick on. Oh my goodness, from an 8-year-old, right? So I thought, I do that now when I'm driving. Sometimes you're driving and you're thinking you're late. We can either drive and feel that you're running late and everything's going sideways, or you can just drive your car. Oh, that has brought me probably the biggest sense of calm in my life. Just compartmentalize it. Your money situation. When you're at school or anywhere else, just deal with your money situation. Every once in a while, get a good financial planner and then stop worrying about it. Don't pull all of your stressors together as if they're always in front of you. So just pretend you don't have any stressors. I thought that was the most marvelous thing ever. So figure out what you're going to do to compartmentalize your stress behaviors, or the stress in your life, I should say, and use your stabilization time for self-reflection and self-growth. Transform your weaknesses, master stress behaviors. Canadian teachers have a lot of autonomy, which I'll show you in a sec. So use your time. So here I was, you know, I use my teaching stories. I dropped my kids at their dad's on the way to school. This is early on in my divorcing situation. So I drop them off. They run into their dad, jubilant, happy. I'm happy, they're happy. I go around the corner. I'm crying so hard because I'm going to miss them. And I'm, you know, my kids, where are they going to be all weekend? I was a mess, and I was on my way to school. I pulled my car over because I couldn't drive. I was crying so hard. But there's that 2-minute story again. I was crying. Then that little voice that told me not to get an A&W root beer came back in, and it said, you know what, Margot? You can use your whole weekend to feel sad, or you can use your whole weekend on your own to pull yourself together, do some self-reflection, return to the things you love to do that you couldn't do because you were a full-time mom and in a terrible marriage. You can just take this time. So focusing on how do you use your time for self-reflection and self-growth. And I thought, wow, that is such a great thing. So I decided I'd use my time. I wanted to be a pie maker. So I was practicing being a pie maker, which the kids came home and my pie was in the garbage, in the plate too, so stuck to the bottom. But anyway, I found out I wasn't a pie maker. I became I thought, well, I'm going to learn how to sew. I got an old sewing machine on Kijiji, and I was trying to learn how to sew, but everything was sucked into the bobbin and I couldn't make a go of it. So I decided, oh, I don't sew. But I ended up like, I'd go out and do photography. Oh, I love that. Photography, love it. I started writing, I started journaling. And now, guess what? All of that has turned into my post-teaching career. Everything I did in my stabilizing phase, all my self-growth, all my self-reflection is now what I do as a post-teaching career. I learned how to master my stress behaviors, and now I go all over the country teaching others how to do the same. So use your time when you're stressed to just stop. And, you know, I'm going to just stop here for a second, because here's something you can do when you feel that everything's getting overwhelming. See how good this feels. Just listen to this. Stop. Breathe. Stop. Stop. You can do that at your desk. Stop. Just stop. You can say that to your children when you teach this. You can say this to your students if they start getting rattled. Let's just stop for a minute. Stop. What's happening here? Huge sense of relief. And sometimes when you get into bed at night and your mind is doing that mind whirling about, just stop. Stop. And get up and go and make yourself a cup of hot water. Don't put anything in it, because then you have to brush your teeth again. Go and sit there quietly in the dark, just going stop, and then drink this warm water. It will relax all your muscles. You'll go back into bed and you'll fall right asleep. I'll have my contact details at the end, and I want you to send me some stories about how all these strategies are working, and especially this hot water and the stop. So you can use your time, because if you can do that, you can start climbing up, climbing up, climbing up, climbing up, so that you're at a way higher functioning level. Because if you want to handle big things in your life, then you have to be able to handle the stress that comes along with it, and very quickly. And what I find is change your energy and the energy around you will change. So when when my students started like misbehaving, they started getting a bit sloppy in their behavior, writing on their desk, making a mess, I would say, okay, we're going to just stop. Let's just stop. What's happening here? We'd redo the seating plan. We'd wash the classroom down, redo the seating plan. I said, we need to change our energy. Quite often it was me. I was in a stressful place. And when I was in a stressful place, the kids picked up on it and then they would become stressful. So it's so, if you can change your own energy by, cleaning up and taking care of your health and all of that, your energy, your sleep, you'll find the behavior of your students gets better. So use your autonomy. In Canada, teachers have an amazing amount of autonomy. You can decorate your classroom any way you want. You can be as creative in your classroom as you want. You can be funny. You don't have to be in a cubie all day, a cubicle. You've got a beautiful classroom. You're managing the class. You're in charge. It's not like that for other teachers. When I did my PhD in Oxford, and I was in the Department of Education, they had pleading messages on TV, please be a teacher, because their teachers were burning out like crazy. You know why? Because they have very little autonomy. They're so rigid over there of what they have to do and all their evaluations, assessments, and everything. They're burning out like crazy. In Canada, we have autonomy. Use it. Use it. So think of it as incremental growth. There's a grander and grander version of you waiting in your future. Had I known when I was in that real high stress period of my life that in future I'd be doing this for a living, it would have settled me right down. And what I realized is just manage now in calm, keep it stable. I didn't need to be the big grand version at that point in my life because I was focusing on raising my children and being the best I could be in my career. But I knew in my future, there's something waiting for me. And Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, and he was a psychologist in the Holocaust. And some of the men wanted to, like, can you imagine? High stress. They're in a concentration camp. And some of them wanted to just run at the electric wire fence, immolate themselves. And Viktor Frankl said, you have to hold on to the idea that there is a grander version of you. There's a whole life waiting for you over here. If you can just stay the course here, just stay the course. And that became his psychological principle when he survived and went on to write Man's Search for Meaning. So in the end of the day, be an example for how to handle stress. Be the calm, reasonable problem solver that people are seeking. Be that. Show your children, show your students, and you say, yes, this is how I manage stress. Bring it up in the open with your students right from grade ECS, kindergarten, grade 1. We say, let's stop here. Okay? Let's stabilize this out, because that's how you're going to be able to handle bigger and bigger challenges moving forward. Be that. And think about it. Life is circular. I hear, oh, I hate mornings. Really? But morning is going to come every day, hopefully, because if it doesn't, morning is going to come every day. So how about make morning better and better? How do you make morning better and better? And as an example here, just take anything that you find incredibly irritating, and it's not going to go away. How do you turn it into something better and better so that you don't have that irritating feeling about it anymore? So life's circular. You wake up. How do you make waking up better and better? Do you need new sheets? Do you need to repaint your bedroom? Do you need to put some flowers in there? What do you need to make your waking up experience better and better? Mine's coffee, by the way. I go to bed excited about my coffee in the morning. Shower and dress. Can you take something nice out of your closet and put it on and feel really beautiful and empowered? Breakfast. My kids did not want to wake up in the morning, and it was like trying to wrestle them out of bed. And I thought, how do I make their getting up in the morning better and better? I used to make them breakfast that were like what you would have on a weekend for a big brunch. I'd make that on a regular day. So they always had, I'd whisper in their ear, I just finished some banana chocolate chip muffins. They're just warm out of the oven. Bing, up they got. I'm doing waffles this morning, everybody. I've got bacon and eggs. So they would be up and out. I'd throw their towels in the dryer so that when they came out of the shower they had a nice warm towel. And we'd go off to school. Hey, if we all hurry, we can catch the sunrise this morning, everyone. Enter your classroom. How do I enter my classroom and go, I just love this. Just take a few minutes, drink your coffee and say, I am so lucky to be here. Bring a nice lunch. At the end of the day, tidy up your classroom, go around, make sure it's all nice. Fitness. So important. Like I used to do my fitness at the end of the day. I go for a run. My fitness protocol is running. So I go for a run even now. And, do the homework, get a better wind down for the day, prep for morning, sleep. And I taught my children how to do that too. Hey, you know why? Because I don't like chaos in the morning. So I taught my children, you get organized before bed. Your clothes are all hung up. They even had their shoes with socks in it. They had their book bag at the front door. All notes had to be signed, homework done, sitting at the door before bed. Because oftentimes you can't sleep because there's unfinished business and your mind is going around and around on it. So just finish that all up and you'll have a better sleep. I taught that to my kids very early in life, and they are in their 30s, and it is what they do today. They stay organized, and they turn everything that is irritating into something way more fun. So this is a recommendation, on your way to school, just start the day. Let me be the calm that my students are seeking today. Let me be this patience. Let me be the one who helps them find their potential in their life. I want to be that person. So think about how you can enter your day better and better every day. Now, I invented a model. If you look over on the left, you might not like those words, but when I was doing my master's degree, I invented a model that I now used. I used it yesterday for my loneliness epidemic, and now I'm using it today for my stress and burnout, because it's such a beautiful, tidy model that you can put as a lens and put it over all kinds of things. When I was doing my master's of education degree, I actually did teacher professional growth and organizational culture. But I thought, okay, well, I'm going to take one course that's just for myself. And it was called Philosophy of Mind. And the first homework assignment was, how are the body, mind, spirit related? How interesting. So I went home and I thought about it. And I said, actually, we have 5 dimensions: body, mind, spirit, soul, oneness. But oneness doesn't look good on that, so I just put 1. We have 5 dimensions. And we're born dominant in one of them, and we grow the other ones over time. So I came home and presented this to my master's PhD class, and my professor said, Margot, that's the freshest theory on that topic I've heard in 50 years. Write a book. So my summer holiday, I teach, I'm a mom, I wrote this book, The Exquisiteness of Being Human, and I called it the dominance theory, that you can be born dominant in one of these things. So I wrote this book, and I was selling them like crazy. And in fact, it overtook my teaching career, because I was being called out to present all over Canada on this model and everything. And I thought, I can't do both. I can't make this going and be an effective teacher. So that's why I retired actually early, and now I'm doing this full time. But let's look at this. What I'm saying is, every human being has 5 dimensions. You have a physical material. We talked about that already. So the idea that when you're stressed, you can let your body go. Like, is your hair looking a little bit raggedy-taggedy? Is your fitness deteriorate? Is your Is your nutrition deteriorating? Is your house the material part of your life? Is it cluttery? So you can go to your physical and say, you know, how am I doing there in that? But if you're a body dominant person where you love the physical, love sports, love hair, makeup, nails, you love all of that, sometimes when you're stressed, what you might do is go shopping and then run your credit cards up. So that's kind of your stress behavior. Or you might be looking at your body and saying it's not good enough. And maybe you want to go and get, you know, all kinds of, you know, like plastic surgery. So you might want to look at that as a stress behavior. I actually had a student who was anorexic, and she started using this model. She was just 24 hours away from going to a treatment center, and she had to go to Edmonton because we don't have one in Calgary. She read this model, she read this book, and she said, you know what, if you give me 2 weeks, I'm going to pull myself together in all my 5 dimensions. That was about 8 years ago. I talked to her mom a month ago, and she said she never went back. She uses this model consistently to manage her. She now realizes that her eating disorder is her stress behavior, and she's using this model as her way of staying the course. She never did have to go in. She has never gone back to her eating disorder behavior. But she realized she was beating up her body dimension. Go over to your mind dimension. If you're a mind dominant person, you're really good at the intellectual, the systems, the logical, rational part of teaching, and you know, systematizing the curriculum and systematizing the organization. And we might have some administrators who are kind of mind dominant people because they know how to work the budget and the systems. But if they're stressed, are they micromanaging? Are they objectifying the people? Are they giving more paperwork, accountability forms for people to do, and then reducing teacher autonomy? And then they're burning their teachers out. So think about it. Okay, so think about if you're that. And are you objectifying people? So if you're using this word, I hope you don't mind, but sometimes they think they're working with a bunch of idiots, and they have to systematize, and they use the word idiot. So I was traveling in a car with my friend, mind dominant friend, and she was saying, oh, look at that idiot driver. There's an idiot. There's an idiot over here. And then she looked at me and she said, I bet you think I'm stressed right now. Yeah, I'd rein that in if I were you. People aren't idiots all around you. Do you see what I mean? Like if you follow into that, that's your stress behavior. So rein that in. I gave this presentation to nurses all over the country during COVID because they were really burning out. And one nurse said, she put in the chat box and she said, I'm that person. I'm burning out my team because when I'm stressed, I put more accountability measurements in place and I'm burning them out. She said, I now realize that's my personal stress behavior. I micromanage. So if that's you, take that on board. I do more in my second book, where this is my second one, which shows you how to get yourself out of that. But what I find is the micromanaging is what really burns people out, nursing, social workers, teachers. So just have a look at that. What I'm describing as the spirit is your real self. It's your passions, it's your emotions, it's your feelings. And if you're a spirit dominant teacher, you may feel that your spirit is getting crushed at work. And what you want to do is you just want to retreat. You want to lie on the couch. You want to just read a book. You just want to hide. You want to put your hoodie on. You want big baggy clothes on so you feel comfy. And that's a stress behavior. Guilty, because that's me. Guilty. So what I have to realize is, Margot, you're retreating from the world. You've got to get back out into the world. Because even with COVID, for spirit dominant people, it was nice to be able to retreat from the world. We had to. It justified our behaviors. But now we have to come back out again. You've got to regrow that part of yourself that you can go out and meet people again. So just look at your stress behaviors in that way too. Some people are soul dominant. I'm pretty sure we have some soul dominant teachers sitting here. We have a lot of spirit dominant. We've got a lot of mind. You have a proportion of each. But if you're stressing out, you're probably more of the spirit dominant, where it's your real self. You feel that your job is crushing your real self. Your job is crushing your purpose and meaning. So you may say, got into teaching because you really wanted to help kids. And I love the struggling kids. So I really want to help struggling kids who are failing in school to do well in school. But then I get a mind dominant saying, yeah, but what are your provincial exam marks? We want them up in the 80s and 90s. Well, I'm working with kids who are failing. So don't put that system over top of what I'm doing, trying to get these kids elevated, and it's going to take time. So, you know, think about if you're a soul dominant teacher and you feel like, I don't want your micromanaging on me because this is my life. This is what I've been put here to do. So do you see what I mean? Just watch to see if that's what's burning you out. Oneness, I'm describing as connection and belonging. And just that idea of, you know, you might feel in your job because you're locked in a classroom with kids. You may not have access. If you're single, where are you going to meet anybody? You're with kids all day long. You're in there, you hardly even see your own staff. So you can start feeling quite lonely if you're a teacher. So find out if your connection and belonging part of yourself is weakened. And what this model does is it helps you to start pulling them into alignment. And I'm going to give you a quick example. My son lost his job during COVID. And because it was a sales job and he sold communal workspace. Well, how can you have communal workspace when nobody can go to work? So he lost his job. And he came over, he liked the $2,000 a month for about 2 or 3 months, but then he came over, Mom, how do I get a job? And I said, well, go on over to your 5 dimensions. Okay, what do you need to do here, physical and material? He said, I've let my hair grow wild. He had a like kind of scraggly beard. He said, I've gained the COVID-15. I don't have any clothes. So he said, okay, I got to fix that. What do you logically, rationally need to do to get a job? Okay, go on LinkedIn, redo my resume. Okay. He said, well, here, I want to get a job that is my real self. When I go to work, I want to make sure that it's in alignment with who I really am. I want to create the life I want to live through this job. And I want it to have purpose and meaning. And I realized my connection and belonging is low. I'm staying home, I'm deteriorating. So he put all those in place. The next day, and I'm not kidding you, he had a job that was exactly what he had on here. This is kind of a, you know, just, it really works fast, everybody, if you just start thinking about it this way. So look at your physical. Deep clean your classroom, home, and car. Put a plant on your desk. Just check out, we've done this. Go and tidy everything up, get a haircut, exercise, start pulling that all together if you're stressed and burned out. Take time, treat yourself beautifully. Go get a plan together. What's your plan? What is the life that you want to live? What is it? How do you want your life to be? I used to ask my students that when they were stressing out. I said, tell me what your life would look like if it were absolutely perfect. And I'd write it all down. I said, my #1 job is to help you get that life. That's what my job is. And I said that to my own children. My job as your mom is to help you get the life you want. So let's get the logical steps in place so that you can get that life. Do you need to change your timetable? Or for us as teachers, what do we need to do to make that happen for ourselves? What systems? You know, who can we draw on for mentorship? Go on over here. Stop looking. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Go look at who are you really? What are your unique experiences? Your own passions. Well, I found mine wasn't pie making, but it's writing. It's doing, I am living my dream right now. And it's because I use this model. If you're stressed and you're here today, spend this year saying, I'm going to examine my stress behavior. I'm going to pull all that together this year. I'm going to transcend. If I have a desire to hide, be invisible, if I'm so sensitive and I'm going to transcend that. That's my goal this year. Because it's going to hold you back from creating the life you want to live. Choose friends, clean out your circle, and have friends who are totally supportive. of you becoming exactly who you want to be in life. Okay? Clear the decks of anybody who wants to keep you in the stressed out mode, who want to, let's talk about our stress. No, I want to be around people who say, yes, we're in a stressful time, but we're going to challenge ourselves. We're pulling ourselves out. There are a lot of them that exist. They hide because they don't want to be around toxic people. Go find them. Go find them as teachers in your school and friends in your community. You matter. There's a meaning and purpose to your life, as says Viktor Frankl. And he said, go and look at what is that grander version of myself that's just coming into being, but I have to go through this stress right now in order to make that happen for myself. You know, is teaching being your purpose in life? For me, it is. I'm a very spirit, soul dominant person. So maybe your purpose hasn't, maybe it's teaching isn't your purpose. I was giving this in Winnipeg live, and a teacher said, no, look, I didn't come into teaching. It's no big purpose, no big passion. She said, just throw rocks at me right now. She turned around to everybody. I'm here because it gives me a good paycheck and I can look after my family. But she's at my stress and burnout. Okay, how can you turn teaching into your passion and purpose? Because that's what's going to sustain you. So think about your purpose as in terms of incremental growth. Maybe your purpose isn't teaching math, it's teaching children who are struggling. It's the struggling student. Or it's the student who is such a high achiever at math, but they're struggling in their social behaviors. You know, so just looking at how can you turn your career into your purpose. Start building connections and belonging. Be the one who knows how to enter any room and belong. I used to not like having to go anywhere where I had to walk into a room and like you have to find a seat and you don't know anybody, or going to a cocktail party or something like this. So I said, I knew that about myself, and that was a stress behavior. I didn't like doing it. So I decided I was going to take that on as a goal for the year. And I said, I'm going to learn how to walk into every room and belong. I'm going to be the person that people love inviting to their parties. Because I'm a really good, funny person. I know how to schmooze a room. I bring great wine and an appetizer that's already plated, so you don't have to have extra work. But just, so I started getting invited to all these parties. Be that person who knows how to lift other people up. Be that person. Be the person who knows how to handle the highs, lows, and plateaus of life. Meeting new people is something you're going to have to do over and over. Be excellent, just like waking up in the morning. It's something you're going to have to do over and over. How can you get really great at it? I didn't have a garage for many years, so I'd have to, in the morning you're out there scraping your windshield. I turned that into, I love it. The peace and calm in the morning. How can I turn everything into something I love to do? So pay attention to how you communicate to others. Be the one that lifts people up. Be that cheerful person. So thinking about it this way. And so reframe one of the big problems is time and work-life balance. So I used to hear when I was teaching, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm just so busy, I'm so busy. And I thought, how come I'm not busy? I'm not busy with anything. And then I looked at my life. Okay, I'm a single working mom. I've got 3 kids. I'm at every one of their basketball, volleyball games. I wrote a book in my summer vacation. I did my master's degree while working full time. How come I don't think I'm busy? Well, because I go from one thing I love to do to the next thing. I clear the decks of things I don't like doing. And I focus my attention on the things that I do love doing. And that's not to say I take all the plum jobs. You can invite me to your party and I'll help you wash up all the dishes. And I even like getting the sticky bits off the bottom of a pot. So it's not like I'm picking all the best things in life to do. I'm just reframing everything into, I love it. Like my daughter said, we'll pretend it's not irritating. Just do it. So work-life balance. And I worked with my kids on stress behaviors and we worked on theirs. And it just came like when I had so much marking bagfuls of marking. Well, I took my kids to the wave pool. And I'd sit there in my bathing suit marking away. And when I needed a break, I'd go down the little curly red slide. I'd take them off to, we have a Callaway Park here, you know, one of those amusement parks. I'd get an annual pass for us all, and I'd sit at a picnic table marking while they're like, hi, yeah, they're running around in my view. So I would just try and turn everything into something that I loved doing. And there were times when I had lots of work to do, and I said to my children, hey, look, you have to help me out here because I have a lot on my plate right now. Well, there was a time when they decided that they were going to be shenanigan makers, and I was also very stressed trying to get all my marking done. So I told them that I'm doing work to rule. So not on strike, but I said, I'm doing work to rule. And they said, what does that mean? It means I come home, I'm your mom, you'll have clean clothes, you'll have a dinner, but there's no wave pool, there's no Callaway Park, there's no ice cream cone, nothing fun. So anyway, and they said, oh, okay, we can live with that, until we're driving up Bow Trail and I see a Dairy Queen. So I'm in the line, right, drive-through line, and they said, I thought you were on work to rule, Mom. I said, I am on work to rule. Well, how come we're at Dairy Queen? Zzz, goes my window. One large cone, please. I hope you're laughing right now. One large cone. I said, well, I'm not depriving myself. I'm working really hard. You guys are not, so you don't get a cone. And I, first of all, it's really hard to get through that lineup with a big, large cone when you drive a stick shift. But I had to prove a point to my kids. And then they started pitching in. The nice things come in life when you take care of the work. When you get the work, then we'll get a cone. So work-life balance. Teach your kids. Don't go into the guilt and shame of working where I was, having panic attacks. So step back and just say, this is how it is, and show your children what a professional life looks like. I said, I'm a professional. That means I have to do homework at night. This is how a professional behaves. And my children are all professionals now. So they know that, you take care of the work first, and then you go and do something fun. And so this really worked in our family, and it worked in my classroom. So become a subject matter expert. I became a subject matter expert on stress and the loneliness epidemic, and of course my book here. So become a subject matter expert. Maybe you teach math, but you love cooking on the side. Instead of lying on the couch, feeling like, or watching social media, start experimenting with your cooking. Maybe you want to make a film. I made a film to go with my loneliness epidemic one year, and I had it up on the big screen, and I loved it. It was so fun. Maybe you want to set a goal for yourself for cycling or running or start 10Ks. Maybe you have a science project that you want to study and you want to become an expert or an artist. Become a subject matter expert on your teaching. If you teach math, if you teach science, become that person who is the go-to person. So just see yourself that way. And hey, guess what? In the grander version of yourself, it could become your post-teaching career where you're studying that passion all the time. Maybe you're running cooking courses or you're running bike trips across Italy. How fun, right? So there are so many things that you can be doing. And stop the hamster wheel. Give yourself permission for time off and seek inspiration. So when I was really, really stressed, and I thought, oh man, like nothing's even working for me right now, really, really stressed, take the day off. I go to the mountains. I think that's like, is that Mont Tremblant? I tried to pick that. My sister has a place in Mont Tremblant. Give yourself permission for time off. And so what do? I say, oh man, I'm really stressed. I'm going to drive to the mountains. I'm so lucky, right? I have an hour to Banff. And I go off to the mountains and I go and look in all the bookstores, art galleries, and I'm not allowed to come home until I've found some inspiration. I've got my journal book, my camera, and I use the photographs for my presentations. And I always, just in that white space of time, I get clarity, I stop, I stabilize, you'll go up higher than you ever dreamed. So seek inspiration. Have a vision for your life. What do you want out of it? Because when you're stressed, you can feel like you're in the hamster wheel like this. But now, have a vision. Where do you want to be? Like, I want it to be driving all over Canada, running workshops on my book, presenting to teachers, nurses, social workers, and guess what? I'm doing it. I had a vision for my life, and I went to the mind dimension to say, how can I make that happen for myself? I don't have a television. I'm not on social media. So I use my time for me to develop my life. I don't want to watch people on social media having a life. I want to create my own. And my children are the same way. They just follow right in there, and they love this model so much. They don't watch TV either. They're not gamers. They're not on social media. They are living their life, and that's how they're using their time. So let's look at, just in finale, those are opportunity for growth. Recognize your stress behaviors and resist them. Resist comparing yourself to others. Know how to stabilize yourself. Find ways to be better every day. Model professional behavior. Increase effectiveness in your 5 dimensions. Be a subject matter expert. Seek inspiration. Create a vision for your life. We have a few minutes left. I'm just going to put in my contact details here. And so these are the things that I present on. Merci, thank you, danke, gracias, for showing up for my session today. I'd really love to hear from you. Like, send me your stories, send me your ideas. What did I miss? I answer all my emails. I present on my books. You can go look up my website there of what I have going on. I run meetups and workshops and webinars and all of that. So you can find me there if you want to just write that down or take a picture of it so that you have that moving forward. I'm going to stop sharing. And Sean, maybe we can, where are we? Meet, go in here.
Perfect.
Okay. So if there's anybody here who wants to present their ideas, thank you so much. Loved it. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Can you give me a nice evaluation if this helped you, please? I went to get my car serviced, and they said, could you give us a good evaluation? I said, oh, that's such a great idea to tell people that. But hey, you know what? Connect up with me. If you're ever in Calgary, say, hey, I was in your presentation. I'm going skiing in Banff. Come and talk to me. What do people have to say? Does anybody want to get in here? And
Elena has raised her hand.
Okay, yes. So
if you could just unmute and ask away.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you so much. We're from Montreal. We're teaching. I've been teaching for the last 15 years, and a lot what you said really helps. Treat our classroom and our students as we love them, of course, and we're there for them every time. So I just want to say thank you. It was a fantastic listening to you, and picked up a lot of good details, good information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elena.
I will stop recording now because maybe people would be more interested in talking and not having it recorded for posterity.
One thing I appreciated you saying was that you can control